Welcome to How to Become a Production SQL Database Administrator. My name is Raphael. In the previous video, we looked at one of the high HA solutions or high availability solutions called log shipping. And I showed you how to set up log shipping using what's called a primary server and a secondary server. And in this video now, I'm going to show you how to actually manually fail over the log shipping process from the primary server to the second server. And what that basically means is, let me go look at the videos here, so I can give you a clear example of what's going to happen. So let me look at log shipping and let me look at the PowerPoint. So obviously, as you know, this is at the point where we took this primary server, we backed up the transactional logs, and then we copy restored here, and this is where we were. What we're going to do now, obviously, is reverse the roles. This is going to become secondary server, and this is going to become the primary server. We're actually going to reverse this thing. Rather than go this way, we're now going to go this way, where we're going to send the transactional logs from here to here, and then this is going to become the primary. This is going to be secondary. One of the advantages of this reverse thing is, you'll notice, is that in this particular case, when we initially started the log shipping, we had to back up the server, back up the database from the primary to the secondary, and that can take a long time depending on how large your database is. Obviously, in our cases, for demonstration purposes, I've been keeping the tables very virtually non-existent, so we can see it in a few seconds rather than a few minutes or a few hours. But try to understand that when you're doing actual log shipping, the process of copying and restoring is going to take a long time depending on the size of the database. So again, we're going to be doing a reverse log shipping, where we're now going to make this a primary, this a secondary. So let's continue. So before we begin that, so when is it that you actually perform log shipping? Well, the primary reasons you will want to fail over the primary database to the second database is one of the following may apply, or something different in your company. You need to apply to the primary database with service packs or the server, so you need to take it down for some reason. This is obviously a corrupt database, so you want to migrate the data from the primary to the secondary and then work on it. And obviously, if you want to replace hardware failure, such as a disk is damaged on the primary, so you want to move all the data from primary to secondary while you repair that and then go back. So this is some of the reasons. Now, obviously, we're going to go by step of how to do this, and I've got it all written down here for you, along with the SQL scripts, which I'll be providing for you also on the paid courses. So now let's get into log shipping manual failover. Now, this is obviously, as we mentioned, one of the disadvantages of a log shipping is that if you detect the log shipping is corrupt for some reason, then you have to manually do this. This is not automated. So let's continue. So open your workstation here, and one thing you'll notice here, now the workstation here, I don't have where it says expiration date in 22 days or 21 days, and that's because I actually purchased this application because I got a great price for it, for $100 rather than $250. So that's why you don't see it. So there's nothing dissimilar here that we're from yours. Yours will still say expiration. So now go to your, obviously, DC. Make sure your DC is powered on. Go to your first SQL server, or your server 1, server 2, and let's begin. And then start your SQL instances. So here now is our instance. Now, as you can see on the left-hand side, I don't have that database created called test. That's because I'm going to quickly redo it for you, so you get a slightly understanding of redundancy here in just explaining. Here, you'll look at the jobs. I don't have anything set up. So basically, I don't have log shipping. So I'm quickly going to now set up a log shipping process that we did in the previous video, just again for experience purposes. And I'm going to do it relatively quick. So this way, we have a little understanding of doing it. So again, right click. I'm going to create a new database. I'm going to call it test, just like last time. And I'm going to go OK. And then we can start. So here we go. So I'm just going to go right click. Tasks. We're going to make this a ship log, just like we did last time. Enable backup, and obviously the backup shared drive is going to be server 1, And we all know about the directory, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But again, it's exactly the same thing that we did. So go OK. Now we're going to add the secondary server. So we're going to connect to it, which is our server 2. And we haven't generated a backup, so we're going to let the application do the backup for us. Copy fails. Where is it going to reside? Remember we said server 2 /D, so that's our directory. And transactional log, and I'm going to make it standby so we can see some data being uploaded. As soon as you go OK, obviously it'll create the 4 jobs or 4 steps in creating the log shipping. And so that's how quickly you can do a log shipping once you get used to it. And now if I expand or refresh jobs, you'll see that I have the backup job here. And if I go back to the server 2, refresh it here, you'll see that I have in test mode. And obviously I don't have anything here. And if I refresh the jobs, we get those 2 jobs, copy and restore. So basically what we've done again is in the previous video, we've set it up. So now the problem comes, okay, what is the purpose, as I mentioned, of HA Solution log shipping? We've already set it up. Well, now we want to take this primary server, which is the server 1, and the test database. Now, let's say this is corrupt. And remember, all your applications and all your users are being directed to this server right now. So they're pointing to this, the application server is pointing to this server and getting all the data from this database. And now for various reasons, such as corruption or manipulation of the database, or we need to update a patch in the server, we need to take this down for some reason and have all the users and applications now point to server 2. So this is in New York and this is in Los Angeles. So that's the great advantage. So now that's where we're going to do that. And someone says, hey, this is down, redirect everything, all the traffic, if you will, to this destination. So that's where we're going to do it. And again, it's a manual process. Obviously, as you can see, I'm doing it. So the first thing I want you to look at is if you run this script, and this is obviously a table called log shipping monitor primary, basically allows you to monitor all the primary server, the data regarding log shipping for primary monitor. If I execute it, actually you'll see a little better. You'll see that you have the primary server name, the database, when it was last backed up, the file it was backed up, and so on and so on. And you can get a tremendous amount of information here. But the ones we're concerned with is this one right here, and last backed up. Obviously hasn't done it right now. So the other thing is, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to create a couple of tables here, or a single table to generate data, if you will. So let's say I create data and just say OK and close it. So now if I go here and refresh it, so I've got data here. The first thing I want to do, obviously, is take a backup of this transactional log. So I'm going to execute this and start it. And there it is. Now, if I run this script again, you'll notice that it tells me the last backup file, and then the number, this is the transactional log number that I want. If I go to my actual folder, you'll see it's 1747. And this obviously is this. So this is giving the log last backup file name, 1747. If I go to my secondary server and I run the same script against the monitor secondary and I execute it, you'll notice that I don't have a restored file yet. And that's because obviously I have not run these jobs. So let's run the job. So basically I want to copy that last transactional log that I did on my primary and paste it here. And that's the normal process of transactional logs. So let's do that. The whole idea at this point is to make sure that both the primary and the secondary databases are in sync. So let's see what happened here. So let me look at that. Always look good to look at the history of what happened. And this is one way of doing it. So ordinarily I would stop here, but let's see what happened. As you can see, I've misspelt it. It's not server, it's sever. So obviously it doesn't find it. So what I'm going to do is go to here. I'm going to redo this actually. So let's look at it. So, so I'm going to edit this, and here you can see I forgot to put the R. So if you wanted to, if there's a mistake, obviously, the reason I'm not pausing this and starting it, because you may get this kind of mistake, so it's always good to understand them. The more problems you get, actually, it's better for you, so you have more experience. So if you get the error, and obviously I noticed that the misspelling of the destination, so I'm going to go R, and now go OK again, and go OK, and it'll update it. So now if I go here to the second server and copy it, let's hope it works. And just give it a second. If not, we'll look into it. And that's good. And now let's restore it. And that may just take a second. And remember what I said, that the process of restoring and copying and restoring also depends on the size of the backup. So now that we got there, let's refresh our database, and we should have that single table. So that's wonderful. Everything's working fine, and that's good. So now we want to reverse it. We want to make this become a primary and this become a secondary. So how do we do that? So as I said, now that we've done this, the first thing you want to always check is running this script to make sure we get the appropriate 1747 here. Let's execute this on the secondary, 1747 here. So basically they're synced. So now that they're synced, and let's go to server 1, and you'll see it take a final tail backup of the transaction log if the transactional logs numbers do not match. We've already verified that the data is in sync, so we're good. So now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to disable the job so they don't keep executing. So I'm going to right-click this on the primary and disable it. Don't delete it, just disable. I'm going to go to the secondary, and I'm going to disable this.